Guys, what's good? It's your boy Johnny's Tech World and I'm back again with another video. If it's your first time tuning into my channel, first of all, welcome. And if you have returned from one of my previous videos and you're tuning into this video, first of all, thank you and welcome back to my channel. I think you're going to have a lovely time here. Don't mind me, I'm wearing my hat, I like my ears feeling warm, and this England with the weather, it's very cold too, so you know, I'll wrap up warm. So today, I'm going to be sharing my review on the Dualsense Edge. If you haven't watched my previous video where I unboxed and shared my first impressions of the Dualsense Edge, do check that out. I will link that in the description down below, just so you know what's going on in this video. I'm going to be sharing my review on the Dualsense Edge, what I think about the various features that it has to offer, as well as giving a rating for each of the various things that I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to be talking about the function buttons, the trigger stops, the back button. I'll also compare it to the other controllers I have, being the Dualsense, the normal Dualsense that I have. Talking about drift. I will also be talking about the back buttons in comparison to the Dualshock 4 that I have here with this back button attachment, and the detachable thumb caps. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the video. And please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, share with your friends, cousins, uncles, aunties, everybody and anybody. It really does help the channel, and I'm very much appreciative of all your support that you've shown on my channel thus far. Let's get into it. So immediately when you plug in the Dualsense Edge into your PS5, you're greeted by this screen, which is basically a tour around the Dualsense Edge and the different features that it has to offer, which I have shown in my previous unboxing video. So here we're going to be focusing on creating your custom profiles and using the function buttons in order to access those different profiles, and yeah, just showing the different customizations that it has to offer. Also, apologies, I have my mood light in, which just wasn't supposed to be there, and my tripod was not entirely straight, so that's why it's slanted at a bit of an angle, but we move. So here we have the custom profiles, and I currently have two set up. So one for FPS gaming, which is for my FPS games such as Destiny 2 and Modern Warfare 2, and another one for Rocket League, which is what I've been playing a lot recently. So here we have our custom button assignments, and this is actually pretty cool because it's not only just the back paddles that can be remapped to any button, but any button on the controller can be remapped to anything. So if I wanted to put my X as square, or if I wanted to put R2 as the up button, I could very much do that. And this is actually a really cool feature because I didn't think that did actually remap every single button if you wanted to. So I like that feature, it's really cool. So here we have the stick sensitivity, and this basically is another cool feature that has to do with customizing your L3 and R3 stick sensitivities. Here you determine the profile that you want to use according to the games you play, and that will determine how much you need to move your L3 and R3 in order to activate them. It's a really cool feature, and this is for my guys and gals that are really into gaming, and this is a real cool feature to have, especially if you have games that don't have these settings. I very much appreciate this and like this a lot. So here we have the trigger dead zone, and initially I didn't understand this because if we had trigger stops, then why do we need this setting? But the trigger stops is more like a hardware feature, and this one is more like a software feature. So if people don't like using the trigger stops and prefer having the full range of motion with the L2 and R2 buttons in order to activate them, then this is a pretty cool feature to have. So you can change the trigger dead zone as I'm doing here. I change it to like 37, and basically it just requires a small press of the R2 button in order to activate it, and it's basically another alternative to the trigger stop thing. Personally, I'm not a fan of it, but I know some people might be. So it's still a very good feature to have and offers the optimum level of customization that the Dualsense Edge has to offer. So once you've created your custom profiles, it's simply a case of pressing down the function button and pressing the button associated with the profile that you want to use. So here you can see me changing between different profiles and just pressing the button associated with the profile I want to use, so whether it's X, circle, triangle. And yeah, this is a very cool feature to have. I enjoy it a lot. It's the level of customization is really detailed, and it just allows you to tailor your experience very well. So I have to give it a solid 9.5 out of 10. Now, when it came to the trigger stops feature, I enjoyed this very much. Initially, I found it weird because it was like, why am I not fully pressing my L2 and R2 in order to activate them? But it was such a very helpful feature, especially when I was playing FPS games like Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2 or Warzone 2. Being able to just press L2 and R2 and gain an advantage over your competitors, being able to do it more quickly and kill people quickly, that was something I very much appreciated. And I don't think I showed it quite well when it came to my unboxing. So I'll just show it here. So for example, it's set at the top here. So this is the full motion in order for me to press R2 and L2. If I set them down one, then it decreases the motion a bit. So you see that. And then if I decrease it one down again, which is what I have it for on my FPS games, it literally just a click like that and R2 and L2 are ready to be used. So yeah, this is a feature that I very much like about the Dualsense Edge, and it's given me such an advantage. And because I play Modern Warfare 2 a fair bit, you're gonna need this considering how slow paced the game is. So yeah, in terms of the trigger stops, I have to give it a 9 out of 10. I really do like them a lot, and I feel like, I know what some of you are thinking, why not just swap your L2 with L1 and your R2 with R1 and you'll get that edge that you need? And you're right, that's why I don't give it a 10 out of 10, because at the end of the day, you can flip them with a normal controller and gain that edge. I just prefer using L2 and R2 to aim in and shoot because it just has a more natural feel to it. Now, when it comes to the back buttons on the Dualsense Edge, I really like them. I found them to be incredibly smooth. Initially, I was wondering why couldn't they be a bit bigger, but considering how hefty the normal Dualsense controller is, adding back buttons that are small, but you know, not too small that you can't navigate where they are is essential. And I feel like these ones are the perfect ones for me anyways, and that's what I chose to go with, and I really like them a lot. So I'd give them a solid 8 out of 10. The back buttons are a huge thing in professional gaming. They allow you in Modern Warfare 2, for example, to jump shot, which a lot of pro players do, or you know, if you want to set your other like back button to be reload or change weapon, whatever you may prefer. And here I have my Dualshock 4 controller with a back button, and in total this is going to cost you around maybe 70 to 80 pounds to buy this whole thing. And if you're somebody that's only looking for a back button, you don't care about trigger stops or customizing profiles, then this may be the way to go, just because it's much cheaper. The only problem is, because of the PS5's compatibility issues, you don't have backwards compatibility nor forwards compatibility. No, I lied. With there are like compatibility, I'm gonna call it an issue.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I'm gonna call it an issue with the PS5, and it's just that it's not forwards compatible. So for example, if I have a PS5 game, I can't use my PS4 controller to play that, which is quite annoying. So that's when the Dualsense Edge comes in clutch. But spending £210 for just to play the PS5 version is very inconvenient, to say the least. And I found that with a lot of the games that I have been playing, I've been playing like the PS4 version of games just so I can use my back button attachment with certain games, but I do miss out on the PS5 version where you have higher graphics, you can change your FOV, so you have to bear that in mind when going for a PS4 controller. with a back button. It is much cheaper and it is going to give you a good feel. I like these a lot. As somebody with big hands, it does help me. It does feel very nice in my hands and very comfortable. It's just unfortunate that you lose out on other features in the game. Now, when it comes to the drift aspect, thank the Lord, I haven't encountered any drift with this controller yet. If I did, I'd be on Sony's door knocking incredibly hard because it's just like, you mean to tell me I paid £210 and my car is moving without me moving it? Sorry, we got problems here. Now, for those that don't know what drift is, imagine this is my L3 button or my steering wheel, for example. And let's say I'm trying to accelerate, so I hold down R2, and what should happen is that my car should move straight. But when drift enters my L3 module, for example, it may lock to the right. So when I'm holding R2 to accelerate and I am not touching my L3 or my steering wheel, for example, at all, essentially my car locks to the right, and what you see is the other car which is now drifting around. So essentially on my screen my car should be moving straight, but what's happened is that it's doing a donut, which is the other car. It's worth noting that drift is not as linear as I've described it. It can be much more erratic, but that was just a simple example that I used, so I hope you understand that. Like I said in my previous video, it will be difficult to test because I don't expect drift to show in a week, but the more I play it, we're going to see how long it lasts before drift settles in and I have to buy another module, which is for £20. I'm worried that drift is going to show within a couple of months. I hope Sony proves me wrong, but I'm not too confident. And the reason why is because of this controller. Now, this is a normal DualSense controller, and if you've had your PS5 from launch, you may have encountered a lot of drift issues with these white controllers. And because this controller is white, I'm worried that Sony used this as a base to create the DualSense Edge, and there's just been a lot of issues with this. This is probably my third white controller. Yeah, I had to send like 2 of them back because they had drift in like 3 months. It's a crazy issue because when you have drift, it makes your games unplayable. You can adjust it by, doing different settings and adding different thresholds in certain video game settings. But it's very annoying to deal with, and it just makes you want to buy a controller. But unfortunately, controllers are not cheap. Normal DualSense controller costs you around £60. You're going to pay a decent bit, and I've always had to have other DualSense controllers as backups. So the one good thing about this DualSense Edge is that, you can just replace the modules for £20 as opposed to actually having to buy another controller for £60. But at the same time, I've paid $210, so I don't expect to be drifting unless I want to drift. Now, when it came to the detachable thumbsticks, I was not a fan of them. There's 4 of them in the case, and I tried to use all of them because they all have different heights, but I just found that it wasn't high enough for me. The shape of them is nice. I can't remember if it's convex or concave. I like that it's simple to do, You just pull it off like this and it comes off, and you just click it back, pull it off, click it back on. But in terms of like using it for gameplay, didn't like it. As you can see, I have this little thumb grip here, which provides much more height and thus range of motion when playing certain games, and I prefer to use this, and I've had it for years now. So yeah, the thumbsticks wasn't really a fan of. I'll give them a rating of 5 out of 10. So the last thing I want to talk about is the battery life of the DualSense Edge, and it was reported before it came out that it wasn't going to be the best and it was going to be less than the normal DualSense, and I found that to be very much the case. After a solid 3.5 to 4 hours of gameplay, the battery does run out completely compared to the 5-6 hours that you'd get on the normal DualSense. So if I was giving the battery a rating, I would give it a solid 7 out of 10. You have to bear in mind all the different features it comes with compared to the normal DualSense. So if you need to fast aerial quickly and dribble past your opponents and score a nice decent goal, or you're looking to hit a quick 5-piece on shipment. The Dualsense Edge is going to provide you with the edge that you need in order to beat your opponents and gain that edge over them. I feel like it's a really cool controller. It has so many features to it, and overall I would give it a rating of 8.5 out of 10. It is personally for the pro gamers, for people that like to have the upper hand, for people that are going to compete. But it's also for, the competitive gamers, the guys that are really competitive and want to win every single game they play, whether it's just for fun or for money. So that's something you have to bear in mind with this rating. It does have the high price tag of $210, and you have to bear that in mind when buying this controller. But I personally love it. It also does have some flaws, being the battery life and the detachable thumbsticks, so you also have to bear those in mind when buying the Dualsense Edge. But thank you for tuning into my video. If you managed to watch the whole video, or even if you just watched certain parts, thank you so much. Please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe and share with everybody that you know. It's been your boy Johnny's Tech World, and I'm signing out. Love.